Ever feel like you're always running but never getting anywhere? What if the secret to finding peace isn't in chasing a purpose, but in letting go of the need for one? In today's world, we're all told we need a purpose, we need a goal, a mission, something to work toward. But what if I told you that this constant search for purpose is actually holding you back from the very peace and clarity you crave? Imagine a life where you could step away from all the noise, free from the pressure to figure it all out today. Let's talk about the unexpected benefit of living with no purpose at all, and how it might be the key to a more fulfilling life. 1. The pressure of constant purpose. We live in a world where everyone seems to be on a mission. It's everywhere. Whether it's on Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube, everyone's telling you to find your purpose. People are constantly giving motivational speeches, writing books, and posting quotes about the importance of finding your why and living with intention. But here's the problem: what happens when you don't know what your purpose is? What happens when you're not sure what that one thing is that everyone else seems to be so clear about? This constant push for purpose has become so deeply ingrained in our culture that it almost feels like if you don't have a clear goal, if you don't know what your mission is, then somehow you're falling behind. It's like there's a clock ticking, and you're supposed to be racing towards something, but you can't figure out exactly what that something is. And when you don't have it, you start to feel like you're missing out on something that everyone else has. That feeling of not enough starts to settle in, and it makes you wonder, what's wrong with me? But here's the thing. This constant pressure is more than just a passing feeling. It's an epidemic. The truth is, society has created an illusion that having a purpose is the only way to live a meaningful life. We're told that in order to be happy, to be successful, to truly live, we have to have everything figured out. We have to know exactly what we're doing, where we're going, and why we're doing it. And if we don't, we're often made to feel like we're wasting time, wasting potential, or even worse, wasting our lives. It's an overwhelming weight to carry. Think about it for a second. If you scroll through social media, it's impossible to ignore the messages telling you to hustle, to grind, to keep pushing forward, to always be on. There's this constant race to achieve, to reach the top, to be successful, to stand out. But what happens when you feel like you're not getting anywhere? What happens when you're doing all the right things, but it still doesn't feel like you're moving forward? You end up stuck in a loop of never feeling good enough, because you're constantly comparing yourself to others who seem to be living their purpose, doing their thing, chasing their dreams. Everyone's sharing their success stories and making it look so easy. And in the back of your mind, you think, why don't I have that? What's wrong with me? The problem is, when you focus so much on chasing your purpose, you lose sight of something more important: peace. You get so caught up in the pressure to perform that you forget to breathe, to stop and reflect. You stop living for the moment and start living for the end goal. The constant pursuit of purpose becomes an obsession, a never-ending race that leaves you exhausted and drained. Let's talk about this treadmill for a second. Imagine you're running on a treadmill and you're giving it everything you've got. You're running faster and faster, pushing yourself harder with each step. But no matter how fast you go, the finish line keeps moving further away. And no matter how much you want to stop, there's this voice in your head telling you to keep going, because eventually you'll reach the finish line. But here's the thing: the more you run, the farther away the line gets. And after a while, you're so tired that you don't even know why you're running anymore. You've lost sight of why you started in the first place. That's exactly what happens when you're constantly chasing a purpose without truly understanding why you're chasing it. You get caught up in the pursuit, and before you know it, you're running in circles. You're trying to achieve something, but that something keeps shifting, keeps moving. It becomes more about the chase than the destination. And that's where the stress and burnout begin. The harder you chase, the more elusive your purpose becomes. It's like chasing a shadow that gets further away the faster you run. But this constant pursuit comes at a cost. You end up neglecting your mental and emotional well-being. You start to doubt yourself. You question your worth. And the more you feel like you're falling short, the more frustrated and defeated you become. This is where confusion sets in. You don't know where you're headed, And that uncertainty starts to eat away at you. It's a vicious cycle. The more you try to define your purpose, the more it feels like you're losing yourself in the process. And here's the kicker: the harder you try to force your purpose into existence, the more disconnected you become from yourself. You start living for the future, for some imagined version of yourself that you think you should be, rather than embracing who you are right now. You forget that you are already enough just as you are. But society's constant messaging makes it easy to forget that. So let's ask the tough question: what if there's a better way? What if we stopped living for some distant goal and instead focused on living for the moment, for the here and now? What if we took the pressure off ourselves and just let life unfold without trying to control every step? What if the key to finding purpose wasn't about forcing it, but about accepting that sometimes the best thing you can do is to let go of the constant need to figure it all out? The truth is, peace doesn't come from having everything figured out. Peace comes from within. It comes from stopping the race, taking a breath, and realizing that you don't have to have a grand purpose in order to live a meaningful life. In fact, sometimes the more you let go of the pressure to find a purpose, the more you'll actually start to live with intention, clarity, and authenticity. You'll find that your purpose isn't some elusive destination you have to chase. It's a way of living, of being present, of fully experiencing the life you have right now. But to get there, you have to stop the chase. You have to stop measuring your life by how fast you're running or how close you are to the finish line. You have to learn to appreciate the journey, not just the destination. You have to give yourself permission to not have all the answers, and when you do, you'll discover something far more valuable than any purpose you could ever chase: inner peace. And once you find that peace, you'll realize that the purpose you've been searching for has been inside of you all along. It's not something you have to chase. It's something you simply need to let unfold, one moment at a time. So step off the treadmill, stop chasing, start living, and let everything else fall into place. 2, what happens when we stop chasing purpose? So what happens when we stop chasing purpose, when we finally let go of the constant race towards some future destination that we think will make us happy? What's left when we stop looking for the next achievement, the next step, the next big win? The answer might surprise you: peace. It might sound too simple to be true, but when you stop looking outside yourself for validation, you make room for something much more valuable. You create space within yourself to simply be. You stop running on autopilot, desperately trying to prove yourself, and instead, you start to live with intention, in alignment with who you are right now. It's not about giving up or becoming aimless. It's about stopping the frantic search for meaning that we so often get caught up in. In today's world, everyone is sprinting towards something. Every time we look around, there's someone telling us that we need to be doing more, achieving more, reaching higher. It's exhausting. It's easy to get caught up in the idea that our worth is tied to our accomplishments, to the number of things we can check off a to-do list, to the goals we can achieve. We're so focused on chasing success that we forget what life is really about. We forget that life is not just about the end results, it's about how we show up for each and every moment along the way. And sometimes the most revolutionary thing we can do is simply stop. Imagine waking up every morning and not feeling the weight of a long list of things you must accomplish today. Imagine looking at the day ahead of you without feeling the pressure to meet some distant goal, to prove something to someone, or to validate yourself. Instead, you wake up with the simple intention of enjoying the day, of being present in whatever comes your way. No hustle, no chase, just living. That's a life of peace. In a world that's constantly pushing us to do more, be more, achieve more, we often forget that it's the moments of peace and stillness that actually give us the clarity we need to live well. The truth is, this culture of constant striving can rob us of our ability to experience life as it is. We get so focused on the future that we forget to live in the present. We become so obsessed with the outcome that we miss the beauty of the journey. When you stop chasing a purpose, when you step off the treadmill of endless goals and achievements, you allow yourself to experience life without the weight of expectation hanging over you. You create space for clarity. You allow yourself to be fully present, to enjoy the simple things in life, like a cup of coffee in the morning, the sound of birds outside, the warmth of the sun on your face. These small moments, often overlooked in our race toward the future, are the ones that bring true joy. When we stop chasing purpose, we stop measuring our worth by external achievements. We stop tying our identity to how much we've accomplished or how close we are to some distant goal. And when that happens, something incredible begins to shift. We start to feel more content, more whole. We realize that we don't need to be constantly chasing something outside of ourselves to feel good about who we are. We already have everything we need right now in this moment. This shift doesn't mean we stop dreaming or stop striving for personal growth. It means we learn to balance our ambitions with inner peace. We learn that our purpose isn't just in what we achieve, but in how we live each day, in how we live each day, and how we treat others, and in how we take care of ourselves. When we stop chasing purpose, we realize that the most meaningful part of life is not the destination, it's the journey. It's about being fully present in the now and allowing ourselves to appreciate the beauty of life as it unfolds. In this space of peace, we also become more resilient. We stop allowing the chaos of the world to dictate our emotions. We stop letting the ups and downs of life throw us off course. Instead, we learn to respond calmly and thoughtfully, no matter what life throws our way. When we live with peace, we are no longer controlled by the pressures and distractions of the world. We are grounded in ourselves, confident that no matter what happens, we will remain steady. In a world full of noise, stopping the chase can be the most powerful thing you can do. It's not about giving up on your dreams or abandoning your goals. It's about finding peace within yourself so that you can pursue those dreams with clarity, focus, and resilience. It's about living in harmony with the present moment instead of constantly searching for meaning in some far-off future. And when you do that, you will find that the pressure to achieve and the need for validation start to fall away. And in their place, you will discover a quiet, unshakable peace. 3. Ancient wisdom for modern life. Now let's take a step back and look at some ancient wisdom that has stood the test of time and remains just as relevant today as it was thousands of years ago. The ancient philosophers, particularly the Stoics, had a remarkable understanding of life that can teach us how to live with peace, even in the midst of chaos. The Stoics, in particular, believed that while we cannot control the external world, we can always control how we respond to it. Life is unpredictable, full of challenges, ups and downs, and things that are beyond our control. But what we can control is how we choose to react to those things. It's all about acceptance. The Stoics didn't spend their time obsessing over finding a grand purpose. Instead, they focused on developing virtues that allowed them to live peacefully in an unpredictable world. The Stoics believed that life isn't about seeking some perfect existence. It's about living in accordance with nature. It's about accepting life as it comes rather than trying to force it into a mold that doesn't fit. And this is where they found their peace. The pursuit of purpose, they believed, should never overshadow our inner peace. The goal wasn't to have a perfect life, but to learn how to live well in whatever life offered. One of the key principles of Stoic philosophy is that we are not the sum of our achievements or our successes. We are not defined by the things we have or by the goals we reach. Instead, we are defined by our character, our virtues, and our ability to remain calm and focused no matter what comes our way. The Stoics didn't measure their lives by external success. They measured their lives by how well they responded to challenges, how resilient they were, and how virtuous they remained in the face of adversity. Today, we can apply these same principles to our own lives. Instead of constantly chasing after the next big thing, we can focus on developing virtues like patience, resilience, and self-discipline. These are the things that allow us to remain grounded, even when life gets chaotic. They help us stay centered no matter how uncertain the world around us may be. But there's another important lesson from the Stoics' life is not meant to be lived in a constant state of striving. It's meant to be lived in harmony with the natural flow of things. The Stoics didn't try to fight against life. They didn't try to force things to go their way. They accepted life's challenges and did their best to navigate them with grace. And this is something that's incredibly valuable in today's world, where we're constantly told that we need to fight harder, do more, and keep pushing forward no matter what. The Stoics didn't believe that life should be a constant race towards some distant goal. Instead, they believed that life should be about learning to be at peace with what is. They focused on living in the moment rather than obsessing over the future. They understood that true happiness and fulfillment didn't come from reaching a specific destination, but from living in alignment with your values, your virtues, and your ability to remain calm no matter what the world throws at you. In today's world, we can often feel overwhelmed by the pressure to constantly strive, to always be moving towards some big goal or achievement. But the Stoics would remind us that peace comes from within. It comes from acceptance. It comes from learning to be present and to find joy in the journey, not just the destination. So when we think about purpose, we can look to the Stoics for guidance. Purpose isn't something we have to chase or force. It's something that naturally unfolds when we live with intention and integrity. It's found not in the destination, but in the way we live each day. And when we learn to live in alignment with our values, we discover that our true purpose is already within us. It's not something we have to search for, it's something we simply have to embrace. 4, the freedom that comes with letting go. Imagine a life where you're not constantly chasing after some distant, undefined goal. A life where you're not bound by the expectations of society, the pressure to succeed, or the constant pursuit of the next big achievement. What if, instead of living for a goal, you focused on simply being? Now, I want you to pause for a second and think about that. Just think about the freedom that comes with letting go. This idea of letting go might sound a little radical at first, especially when we're surrounded by messages telling us to hustle harder, to work longer, to aim higher. But the truth is, letting go is liberating. It's not about being passive or lazy. It's about freedom. Freedom from the constant weight of expectations. Freedom from the feeling that you're never doing enough. Freedom from the fear that you'll never make it. And this kind of freedom can radically transform your life. When we're always chasing something, we tend to build this invisible cage around ourselves. We think that if we just work harder, achieve more, or accomplish that next thing, we'll finally feel happy, successful, or worthy. But this idea often keeps us stuck in a cycle of dissatisfaction. It's like running on a treadmill that never stops. No matter how fast you go, you never get anywhere. And this treadmill can wear you out, leaving you feeling exhausted and empty. That's why letting go of this constant pursuit is so powerful. When you let go of the idea that your happiness and fulfillment depend on reaching some far-off goal, something incredible happens. You become free. You stop making your happiness conditional on completing that task or achieving that success. Instead, you realize that life itself can be fulfilling even before you've reached the destination. This kind of freedom doesn't mean you stop being intentional or stop working toward your dreams. It just means you stop tying your sense of self-worth to the outcome. You stop attaching your happiness to some distant goal that may or may not ever come. And instead, you start living more fully in the present. Now, letting go doesn't mean you give up or become passive. Far from it. In fact, when you let go of this constant pressure to achieve, you often find yourself more deeply engaged with life. You stop obsessing over what's next and start enjoying what's happening right now. You start focusing on the journey, not just the destination. And in that process, you start finding meaning in the moments you would have otherwise missed. There's a difference between pursuing something with obsessive attachment and pursuing something with a sense of freedom. When you're attached to the outcome, you're never fully in the moment. You're always focused on what's next, what you need to do, or how far you have left to go. But when you let go of that attachment, you free yourself to enjoy the process, to enjoy the journey. And this is where true fulfillment lies. The beauty of this freedom is that it allows you to experience life in a deeper, more meaningful way. When you stop constantly chasing after something, you start to notice the things around you. You become more present, more mindful, and more appreciative of the small, everyday moments. The freedom that comes with letting go is not the freedom to do nothing. It's the freedom to engage more deeply with life. It's the freedom to appreciate everything that is right in front of you. Think about this for a moment. Have you ever felt like you've been working so hard toward a goal that, when you finally reach it, you realize it wasn't as fulfilling as you thought it would be? That's because the constant chase for a distant goal often robs us of the joy of the process. But when you let go, you realize that the real treasure is in the journey, not just the destination. You begin to experience life fully without the constant anxiety of having to prove yourself or achieve something more. Letting go also brings a sense of peace. There's a quiet joy that comes from knowing that you're enough just as you are. You stop feeling like you have to prove your worth to the world. You stop feeling like you have to achieve more to be valued. And in that space, you find a deeper sense of self-acceptance. You find peace in the present moment, free from the pressures of the future. It's an incredible feeling, one that you can't put into words until you experience it for yourself. But here's the thing, letting go doesn't mean that you stop setting goals. It doesn't mean you stop dreaming. What it means is that you no longer tie your happiness to those goals. You stop thinking that reaching the next big milestone is the key to your fulfillment. Instead, you start focusing on the life you're living right now, in this moment. You realize that the process, the journey, is just as important, if not more important, than the destination. And when you embrace this mindset, you'll find that your life becomes more meaningful and fulfilling in ways you never expected. So imagine what it would feel like to let go of the need to chase after some future version of yourself. Imagine living with the freedom to just be, to engage with life fully without the weight of endless expectations. It's not about abandoning your dreams or becoming complacent. It's about realizing that your happiness doesn't depend on the achievement of some future goal. It's about being content with where you are right now and allowing life to unfold in its own time. 5. Embracing the present moment. Now let's talk about how you can bring this mindset into your own life. How can you start to embrace the present moment and let go of the constant pressure to chase something outside of yourself? It's simple: embrace the now. We live in a world that's obsessed with the future. We're constantly worrying about what's next, what we should be doing, or whether we're on the right path. We're always thinking about what's coming up, what's ahead, and what we need to do to prepare for it. But here's the reality: the present moment is all we really have. This moment right here, right now, is the only thing that's guaranteed. When we stop chasing something external, we begin to realize that every moment has value in itself. We don't need to constantly be working towards something to appreciate it. You can find peace and joy in simply being, in simply existing. The moment you start to embrace the present is the moment you start to see the beauty and value in everything you already have. And trust me, when you learn to live in the present, life starts to feel a lot more fulfilling. Imagine for a second that you could take a step back from your to-do lists, from your endless goals, from your plans for the future, and just be. Picture yourself looking around at the world with fresh eyes, seeing the beauty in things you might have overlooked before. When you stop constantly rushing from one thing to the next, you start to notice the little things that make life so rich: the sound of a bird singing, the feel of the sun on your face, the joy of a good conversation with a friend. When we're constantly chasing something external, we often miss out on the beauty of the present moment. We're so focused on what's next that we forget to enjoy what's here. But when you stop chasing, when you embrace the present, you start to see that life is already meaningful. You realize that you don't need to be constantly working towards something in the future to appreciate your life today. The key to embracing the present moment is mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully present, of being aware of what's happening right now without judgment. It's about letting go of distractions and focusing on the here and now. And when you practice mindfulness, you start to experience life in a deeper, more meaningful way. One of the most powerful things about mindfulness is that it allows you to experience life as it is, without the need to change it or make it fit some idealized version of what you think it should be. You stop worrying about the past or the future, and you begin to appreciate life in its purest form. You realize that every moment has its own beauty, its own value, and its own meaning. So how can you start embracing the present moment? Start small. Take a few minutes each day to simply be. Put down your phone, step away from your to-do list, and just sit in silence. Notice the world around you. Breathe deeply and focus on the sensation of your breath. Allow yourself to be present with whatever is happening without needing to change it. And when you do this, you'll begin to notice how much more peace and joy you feel in your life. Embracing the present moment is the key to letting go of the constant pressure to achieve and the fear of not being enough. It's about realizing that you are enough right now just as you are. And when you learn to embrace the present, you'll find that life becomes more fulfilling, more meaningful, and more beautiful than you ever imagined. 6. The true meaning of purpose. Here's something to think about. What if purpose isn't something you actively go out and find, but something that comes to you when you stop trying to force it? What if the moment you let go of the constant pressure to chase some grand, predetermined goal, you actually discover your real purpose? The truth is, purpose is not a destination. It's not something you can check off a list or measure by your achievements. It's not about having a fixed, long-term plan that dictates every step you take in life. Instead, purpose is a way of living, a mindset, and a perspective that unfolds over time, especially when you stop looking for it so desperately. You've probably heard the saying, you can't force happiness, and the same principle applies to purpose. When you force it, when you chase it too hard, it tends to run away from you. You get so fixated on finding that elusive why that you miss out on the beauty of living authentically in the present moment. But once you stop obsessing over it, once you stop trying to make it fit into your life in a way that it doesn't belong, you might just find that your true purpose reveals itself in a way that's more natural and organic than you ever imagined. Here's the paradox: when you stop looking for purpose in the traditional sense, that's often when you discover what truly matters to you. Purpose isn't something you can plan out step by step. It's not a box you check off on your to-do list. It's not something that's set in stone, nor is it something you need to rush toward. It's something that arises when you're living authentically, when you're being true to who you are in every moment. It's about living in alignment with your values and your principles, not forcing some predetermined path on your life. Think about it this way: have you ever worked so hard to achieve a certain goal, only to realize that once you reach it, it doesn't feel as satisfying as you thought it would? That's because the true purpose isn't in the goal itself. It's in the process and the experience of living, learning, and growing along the way. The journey itself is what holds meaning. The more you chase a goal with the belief that reaching it will give you purpose, the more you miss the richness of life in between. What if your purpose isn't something you need to constantly strive for? What if it's already there, waiting for you to recognize it? The more you try to force something, the more you close yourself off to the possibilities life has to offer. When you let go of that need to have everything figured out, you allow space for the true meaning of purpose to come in. And this is where the magic happens. Purpose in its true form isn't a fixed, unchanging thing. It's fluid and adaptable. Just like you. When you let go of the pressure to find purpose, you give yourself the freedom to evolve. You stop putting so much pressure on yourself to live up to some grand expectation, and instead you open yourself up to new experiences and new ways of being. This openness to change allows you to discover what truly drives you, not because you're searching for it, but because you're living in a way that's authentic and true to yourself. Let's break this down further. In our world, we're constantly bombarded with messages that we need to find our purpose, and we're told to look for it in big, grand goals: becoming successful, building a business, having the perfect family, traveling the world, and so on. These are all fine pursuits, but they're not what defines your true purpose. Your purpose is found in the day-to-day moments when you show up as your best self, when you interact with others with kindness, when you live with integrity, when you make decisions that reflect who you really are. Purpose is not something you can separate from your life. It's an intrinsic part of you. The more you align with who you are, the more you'll find that your purpose naturally unfolds. It doesn't need to be forced. It simply happens when you're living authentically. You don't need to go on some elaborate search for it. It's already within you, waiting to be realized. The key here is authenticity. When you live authentically, when you stop trying to be someone you're not, or live according to someone else's expectations, that's when you start to discover what truly matters to you. Purpose isn't something you chase or something you achieve. It's something you embody. It's in the way you live, the choices you make, and the way you interact with the world around you. One of the most freeing aspects of letting go of the need to have a fixed purpose is that it allows you to evolve and change. Life isn't static. You don't have to stay stuck in one idea of what your purpose is. Instead, you can adapt and grow as you learn more about yourself and the world around you. The more you embrace change and uncertainty, the more you open yourself to new possibilities. And as you do, your purpose will reveal itself in different ways. It might not look exactly like you imagined it would, but it will be meaningful nonetheless. When you stop trying to fit yourself into a mold of what society says your purpose should be, you start to see life from a different perspective. You realize that purpose is not a fixed destination, but an ongoing journey. It's something that continues to evolve as you do, and this realization is incredibly freeing. It takes away the pressure of having everything figured out. It allows you to live with more joy, peace, and authenticity. So what's the true meaning of purpose? It's not a goal to be achieved or a task to be completed. It's a way of living with authenticity, integrity, and openness. It's about being true to who you are, embracing the journey, and allowing purpose to unfold naturally as you go. And the moment you let go of the need to control everything, the moment you stop trying to force your purpose into a box, that's when you'll realize that purpose isn't something you find, it's something you become. Purpose is not something you need to chase. It's something you embody by living authentically, staying true to your values, and embracing each moment as it comes. When you do this, you'll find that life becomes infinitely richer and more meaningful. Your purpose is not a destination, but a way of being in the world. And the more you live in alignment with your true self, the more purpose will naturally reveal itself, effortlessly and authentically. Living with no purpose isn't about abandoning goals or giving up on your dreams. It's about recognizing that true peace comes from within, not from chasing an ever-moving target, by letting go of the need to find. A purpose, you free yourself to embrace life as it is chaotic, unpredictable, and beautiful in its imperfection. The key to living a peaceful, fulfilled life lies not in achieving some grand mission, but in accepting the present moment and finding contentment in just being.